Today I'm filming a video that has been probably my most requested video. I get messages all the time on Instagram and probably my most requested thing on YouTube as well is to do a video on emetophobia. Firstly, I just want to say I might use words that could trigger people. I know when I was in a really bad time with emetophobia, if I even heard words relating to the thing, I would feel really, really anxious. So I'm going to be talking about the word. So from now on, if you don't feel like you can handle that, then click off this video. Emetophobia is a phobia of sick. Usually it's not a phobia of getting colds and flus and stuff like that. It's a phobia of actually being sick or seeing somebody else being sick, and usually it's because you feel like maybe you're in a situation where you don't feel safe, or there's nobody around to help you if you're sick, or you feel like you're going to be sick and not be able to stop being sick, all that kind of stuff. It's really, 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 really horrific. And the thing is with a phobia is you avoid anything that could possibly come from that phobia. Like, I wouldn't eat something that had been out for a while. I wouldn't eat, for a long time I wouldn't eat meat. I wouldn't try new foods. I wouldn't have prawns for ages, even though prawns are my favourite food. I don't drink alcohol because I'm scared of being sick. All that kind of stuff. But also it can get on the more extreme scale where you don't eat really at all, or sometimes you get scared to leave the house, you get scared to touch things that other people have touched, you get quite obsessive with cleaning, and this is when the diagnosis can get tricky. I think a lot of the time doctors and psychologists and whatnot might describe an eating disorder or OCD or germophobia when actually the phobia is sick. So I don't always think that you necessarily have to have a diagnosis, but I think this particular diagnosis is quite important because the way you tackle it is different. The way you tackle emetophobia is different than the way you tackle an eating disorder, because this really is nothing to do with weight or food or body image or anything like that. It's a fear of not being in control. It's a fear of being sick and not being able to control it, not knowing when it's going to strike. And another thing that I've mentioned before in other videos that I'm going to mention again, because this is, I think, just the way to describe emetophobia for me, is one, it's the third most common phobia in the world and the most debilitating phobia in the world. I think because you don't know when it's going to strike, you don't know, you could be in a shop and you could touch something that somebody else has touched, you know what I mean? It's very debilitating and really scary. And one of my therapists once told me, a therapist I had a long time ago, that his friend or his colleague saw a client that said she was driving her car and there was 3 people in the back and one of them was about to be sick, and she was very, very, very close. She was on the motorway, so it was obviously going quite fast. She was very close to just literally opening the door, taking her seatbelt off and just flying out of the car, because she would rather have died than being exposed to sick. And I remember feeling at the time like I 100% understood that. I would rather have died than been in a situation where they were sick. Firstly, I want to tell you, I'm not in that position anymore. Although I, touch wood, haven't been sick, and the thought of it still is horrible to me, and the thought of being around people that are ill is horrible to me. I amn't as bad as I used to be, and so there is progress being made. So if you feel like you're in a position right now where you're like, there's no way I'm ever going to not have this horrific, debilitating phobia, that isn't the case. It really, really isn't the case. I promise you that, because I was really bad. I didn't leave the house for 3 months. I couldn't eat most foods. I couldn't be around somebody that even sniffled. I would have to go away. My ex-boyfriend at the time, I remember he was sick once and I didn't want to see him for weeks and weeks and weeks. And it was only, I'm pretty sure it was only hungover, but it's not as bad as it was. Definitely 100% not as bad as it was. So there's definitely a light at the end of the tunnel. So I'm going to talk a bit about little things that have helped me get to where I am today. Again, I'm not cured. I still have emetophobia. I'm still not a fan of hearing or talking really about sick. This is quite a difficult video, but these are some tips that have helped me a little bit along the way. Firstly, something that is kind of more of a recent thing that's been really helpful is getting people around you to reassure you that you're not going to be sick. So if I'm in a situation where I'm not feeling well, or I'm in a situation where I've eaten too much and I'm feeling full, or if I'm in a situation where I'm just really anxious and I'm feeling nauseous or something, my boyfriend, my friends, my family, always, if I say I don't feel well, the first thing they say is there's no way you're going to be sick. You're not going to be sick. This little thing, I think because it could spiral and spiral and spiral. So I think them saying that stops the spiraling thoughts. Them bringing in some outsider perspective. I know that might not be helpful for everybody, but it really, really helps me. And something else I ask my boyfriend quite a lot is, do I look pale? And he'll say, no, you don't look pale at all, you're fine. There really is no illness here, this is anxiety. And also just knowing anxiety can make you feel unwell. I think for me, when I have a panic attack or when I'm feeling anxious, the first thing to strike is my tummy. So the first thing that I'm going to feel is nauseous and like a tight ball in my stomach and feel like I'm going to be sick. And also your mind is very powerful and it can play tricks on you and it can make you feel the symptoms of being about to be sick when that's not going to happen. It's very clever and it's very, very frustrating that our minds can do that, but it doesn't mean that you're going to be sick. It absolutely doesn't. And I just find that getting people to reassure you and just making people aware of the situation, making people aware that if they are in a situation or they're out and about with you, they know how to reassure you and they know how to get you out of a situation that you don't want to be in as well. My next one is to eat food that makes you feel comfortable. When you're feeling nauseous or when you're feeling very, very anxious, there's no point in pushing yourself to your limits. There's probably some foods that you feel safe with, and if there's not, I would recommend dry biscuits, breadsticks, things that are dry that make you feel like kind of, I don't know, it's kind of, don't know the scientific word, but it kind of feels like it soaks up acid or something like that. Food like that really helps. Avoid foods that are maybe would make you feel anxious. Things like seafood for me make me feel anxious, maybe spicy food. If you're in a really, really, really bad state and you're at the point where you feel like you're not eating enough, all you need to do is make sure that you are eating enough. Don't worry about expanding your food horizons, don't worry about any of that. If there's foods that feel safe to you, stick with them. And after that, you can branch out a little bit into other foods. Something that can help is if you're out with people, if you're out with your boyfriend for dinner or whatever it is, sometimes ordering the same food as them can be really helpful. So you know that, okay, they're not getting sick, I've not got food poisoning, they're not getting sick, they're absolutely fine. Because for me, I used to convince myself all the time that I had food poisoning. I'd eat something in a restaurant, something that was pretty safe. I was a vegetarian for 5 years, so there wasn't that much stuff that could really give me food poisoning. But I would just freak out and be like, oh my god, the potatoes weren't washed properly, or oh my god, like there was too much oil in that and I'm going to be sick. So if you order the same thing as the person that you're with or the people that you're with, you will be able to know and get that reassurance again, okay, they're fine, so if they're fine, I'm going to be fine. That's something that's helped me. My next tip is to get yourself tested for allergies. Getting blood tests done for anemia, for gluten intolerance, because sometimes with emetophobia you actually feel nauseous quite a lot, and actually it's not always because of anxiety. Sometimes there's an underlying issue. For me it was lactose, and so I can't have dairy or egg anymore. Egg just make me feel funny as well. So dairy and egg is something that I stay away from now, and I eat pretty much everything else and I hardly ever feel nauseous anymore. So there was actually an underlying reason for the constant nausea, and I thought it was just anxiety this whole time. So that's definitely something to get checked out. I'm pretty sure on the NHS it's quite hard to get full allergy tests. There's places you can go to get full allergy tests that might cost a little bit, but I think it's definitely 100% worth it to get a diagnosis. I never thought that stopping eating dairy would ever make my emetophobia better, but it really has. Knowing that when I'm out in public, if I'm having a coffee, if I had a coffee with regular milk, I would have horrible tummy pains, I'd feel really sick, but I just never put two and two together because I always just thought this is just anxiety. And actually it wasn't. I was having something that made me feel very nauseous, and now I have coffee with oat milk or whatever it is, and I feel absolutely fine. So I think getting yourself tested for all these different things can be really helpful. Another kind of medical thing is anti-nausea tablets. These are so good. I actually don't take mine that often anymore really, but it's just really nice to know that I have anti-nausea tablets in my bag all the time. So if I'm ever out and about and I feel nauseous, which is very, very scary, having one of them within half an hour you'll feel loads better. Also, it makes the chance of being sick much, much, much less likely. People like pregnant women, people that are on medications, all that kind of stuff, they take nausea tablets to stop them feeling nauseous. And so I think just having them, you can also, if you don't want to go to the doctor for them, you can buy them from pharmacies and stuff like that. And they don't make you sick. I know that for me, something that really scared me was taking new medications because I didn't know the side effects, didn't know if they'd make me ill. They don't make you sick. That's not one of the side effects. I've not actually had any side effects with them at all. Also, if you're taking medication, generally, medication can also be something that makes you nauseous. Especially if you're taking different kinds of medications, and antidepressants and citalopram, antipsychotics, they're actually something that can make you feel very nauseous. So if you're on them, you're more likely to be feeling nauseous as well. So the anti-sickness tablets and the allergy testing is something that's just really great to just give yourself peace of mind, to know that there's nothing that you're putting in your body that's making you feel nauseous. And so then thereafter, if you are feeling nauseous, you know it's anxiety, you know that there's nothing medically wrong with you. So I just found that really, really helpful. Another thing that helps me is to check in with your body. This might take some practice and some getting used to, but something that really helps is if I'm starting to feel anxious, I will kind of look at every part of my body and be like, where is the anxiety in my body? Usually for me it's in my tummy. I think to myself, how can I relieve the nausea, or how can I relieve this discomfort in my tummy, rather than thinking I'm going to be sick, I'm ill, I'm sick, I'm going to be in hospital, I'm going to continuously be sick and not be able to stop it. I think, okay, my tummy feels funny. That's all we know right now. My tummy feels funny. Maybe I'll try and drink a ginger beer. Maybe I'll try and have some ginger biscuits. Maybe I'll take an anti-nausea tablet. Maybe I need to lie down and rest for a while. There's just a whole host of reasons why you might be feeling that way. The more you jump to the conclusion, I'm going to be sick, the more you're going to panic, the more you're going to be anxious. And actually, to tell you the truth, it's very unlikely you're actually going to be sick. I don't get sick very often. I really, really don't, touch wood. So the odds, the evidence all adds up to, it's very unlikely I'm going to be sick. That's another thing I've got written down is logic. Logic is so, so, so helpful to reassure yourself. Just thinking, when have I actually ever been sick? And I know that although the logic is with us, sometimes things can happen and sometimes we can randomly get sickness bugs, and that's just a part of life, and that's just something us emetophobes have to deal with, even though it's really, really hard. But it does help sometimes knowing, okay, logically, I haven't been sick in a very, very long time. Logically, I've felt nauseous and I felt anxious a million times and nothing bad has happened. Maybe this is one of those times, and in that moment, maybe using a distraction tool, maybe lying down for a while, maybe asking yourself, did you get enough rest, did you get enough sleep? General self-care can help us feel less anxious and can help us feel less nauseous. Checking in with our bodies, making sure that, okay, my tummy feels funny, why could that be? Am I dehydrated? Because dehydration can make you feel nauseous as well. But yeah, for me the logic really, really helps. Weighing it up. And also another thing that really helps is checking in with yourself at each stage. If you're going to do something that makes you feel anxious, if you're going to the shop and it makes you feel anxious, checking in with yourself at each stage, saying, okay, I'm about to leave the house, I've got my jacket on, and I've got my keys in my bag, how do I feel right now? Maybe your tummy feels a bit funny, just noticing that, saying, okay, my tummy feels a bit funny, but I think it's because I'm anxious. Going to the next stage of going to the bus stop and checking in with yourself, checking in with your body, seeing how you feel. Okay, my tummy's actually feeling a little bit better now. You know, checking in with yourself, checking in with your body constantly can be really, really helpful. And my last tip is a bit of a gross one, but something that has helped me loads and loads and loads and loads and loads, and that is to let myself fart and burp and poop when I need to. Because for a really long time, and I'm sure a lot of you, if you're watching with Emetophobia, really get this, I was terrified of burping, because burping leads to sick, and that's just the correlation I made in my head. And even if I'd had like a bottle of Diet Coke and I was obviously needed to burp, I would swallow rather than burp. I would swallow and swallow and swallow, obviously making myself feel very nauseous. But the last thing in the whole world I wanted to do was burp, because that meant, oh my god, I burped, I'm going to be sick. Oh my god, that's it. Actually, burping is going to make you feel less sick. And also burping is a really scary sensation for us. It's really, really scary. But once you've started to let burps out, you will actually notice you feel much less nauseous and nothing bad happens. Similarly with going to the toilet in public and farting and stuff like that, if you keep those things in, you're going to feel nauseous. And I know going to the toilet in public can be really uncomfortable and can be quite embarrassing, but it really is worth it when you start going to the toilet in public and you start farting in public and stuff like that. Obviously in a discreet way. You don't need to be embarrassed by it. You can do it in a discreet way, nobody has to know. But by releasing the things that your body is naturally wanting to release, you're going to feel this nausea and like big bloating in your tummy will gradually disappear. Maybe not disappear, but it will get much less. So that's definitely something to be aware of. Make sure you're getting your gas out and letting your tummy rest and do the natural thing it wants to do. So that is all I have to say. I just want to say that emetophobia is really terrifying and really, really tough. And I wish I could just wave a magic wand and for all of us to be rid of this. But it is something that's curable. It is something that doesn't last forever, and it's something that we can keep working on. These tips are just a start, and they're just little things that have really helped me. I really, really do know how terrifying it is, and it genuinely feels like the worst thing in the world. I know to people that don't have it, that will seem very strange and a bit like, oh, come on. But it's scary. It's really, really scary, and the fear is being out of control and not being able to control something, and it's very, very scary. But therapy has been amazing to help me in this. It's been really, really, really amazing. And these little tips that I've got as well have been really amazing to help. So I really hope that some of them can help you. And I believe that we can keep making these little steps, just little by little, and they'll add up to good things. So thank you very much for watching this video, and I'll see you soon. Bye!